Greetings, beautiful people. Welcome back to Find XYZ. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. We are still on the road to WASI 2026. Let's try this problem. We've been given a diagram which is a net of a pyramid on a square base of side 16 centimeters. We've been asked to calculate and to correct one decimal place for different things. First, the value of x if the total surface area is 744 centimeters squared, the height of the solid formed from this given net, the angle that the slant edge makes with the base, and then finally the volume of the solid. So let's dive in. Now the first thing, the value of s. What does s represent? S represents the height of the triangle. Since the triangle is attached to the square and the square has side of 16 centimeters, it means that the base of this triangle will also be 16 centimeters. Now we've been given the total surface area of the net to be 744 centimeters squared. So what we can do is that we can sum all the areas and equate it to 744. We have 5 different areas. The first one is the area of the square base and additional 4 similar triangles. So let's put them together. So we are going to do area of the square plus 4 of the area of the triangles. Everything should give us 744. How do you find area of a square? A square has all sides being equal. Since we know each side is 16, so we'll do 16 times 16. That represents the area of the square. And how do you find area of a triangle? A triangle is half of a square or a rectangle. So I'll do half base times height. This should give us 744. Then 2 can divide 4. That will leave us with 2. What is 16 times 16? That will give us 256. Plus 2 of the base times the height is equal to 744. What is the base? As I initially said, the base is the same as the side of the square. So the base is 16. And what is the height? The height was given as x. This should give us 744. Then I will repeat the area of the square. 2 times 16, that will give us 32. Then times x, that will give us 32x. Then I'll repeat 256. Since I'm looking for x, which represents the slant height or the height of the triangle, I will subtract 256 from both sides. 256 minus 256, that will go to 0. So I'm left with 32x is equal to 744 minus 256. That will leave us with 488. Then I have 32x is equal to 488. Since I'm looking for x, not 32x, I'll gladly divide both sides by 32. So 32 on this side and then 32 on this side as well. 32 divides 32. What is 488 divided by 32? That will give us 15.25. But look at the condition, one decimal place. So we have 2, then we look at the next number, which is 5. So we'll round it and add it to the current number. So our value of x, which represents the slant height of this figure, is 15.3 centimeters. That is the first part of this problem. The second part is for us to calculate for the height of the solid formed from this net. It means that if you put everything together, it will form the solid, which is the pyramid. So let's form the pyramid. This is our pyramid formed from the net. So I'll begin by labeling the points. So I have the base. So I'll label the base as A, B, C, D. Label the apex as E. That is where all the triangles will meet at a point. Then I will label the center where the height touches the center of the base. So I'll label this as G. Then I'll label this point, which is the midpoint of BC, as H. We've been told to find the height of this solid, which is line GH. So this is the height. There are things that we have to note. You realize that our base is a square, so it means that AB will be 16 centimeters. Also, we know that since it is a square, B to C will also be 16 centimeters. And since E to H is a perpendicular line, it divides BC into 2 equal parts. So it means that if BC is 16 centimeters, then HC will also be 8 centimeters. That is half of 16. Also, G to H, which is also half of 16 centimeters, that will give us 8 centimeters. So what can we consider? We can consider triangle EGH. That will help us find the height of this figure. So let's sketch that. So this is G, this is E, and this is H. Now G to H is 8 centimeters. Then E to H, watch closely, that is the red line. That represents the slant height. We have already calculated that. But we are not going to use the approximated value. We are going to use the original value, which is 15.25 15.25. Then we are finding the height of this pyramid. Now we have a right angle triangle. What comes in mind? Pythagoras theorem. So let's use Pythagoras theorem to find the height of this solid. So we can say h squared plus h squared will give us 15.25 squared. So we can subtract h squared from both sides of the equation. So we have h squared minus h squared, that will give us 0. So we have h squared is equal to 15.25 squared minus h squared. Then since we are looking for h, not h squared, take the root to get rid of the square. Just like when you get COVID, you take a vaccine. When you see root, you bring the square root. That cures the disease of square. So I have h is equal to the square root of 15.25 squared minus h squared, and that will give us 12.9832. Again, we're told to leave our answers in one decimal place. So we have 9. Look at the next number, which is more than 5. So we'll round all this as 1 and add it to 0.9, and that will give us 1. Then we'll add a 1 to the 12, and that will give us 13.0 centimeters. This represents the approximated height of the pyramid. Then we are done with the second part. Let's look at the third part. The third part is to find the angle the slant edge makes with the base. So let's look at the figure. Now we have the slant edge, which is E to C. That is it. This is the slant edge. Then this is the base. We are looking for this angle. So let's call it theta. However, you realize that our base is a square. So it means that ABCD is a square. Then we have line AC, which is diagonal to the square. So we can find the length of AC and divide it into 2. That will give us the length of GC. And once you have been able to find the length of GC, we'll use the length of GC to help us find the angle. So let's find the length of GC by considering triangle ABC. So we have A, B, and then C. B is our right angle. The distance between A to B is 16 centimeters, and the distance between B and C is also 16 centimeters. We have our right angle triangle. Again, Pythagoras theorem. So let's apply that to find the length of the diagonal, which is AC. So we can say 16 squared plus 16 squared will give us AC squared. Then take the square root of both sides. So we have AC being equal to root of 16 squared plus 16 squared. That will give us 16 root 2. GC is half of AC, and we know AC is 16 root 2, so we'll do 1 over 2 multiplying 16 root 2, and that will give us 8 root 2. Now since we know G to C, we are going to consider triangle GEC, since angle GCE is our angle that we are looking for. So let's consider that triangle. Now this is also a right angle, that is 90 degrees. Why? Let's look at the figure. Now you can clearly see that the height is perpendicular to the base, so that is why that angle is 90 degrees. But we know GC. Take note, GC is 8 root 2. We know GE is the height of the solid. Look at it closely. G to E is the height, which we have calculated it. We are not going to use the approximated value. We are going to use the original value, which is 12.9832. Now this forms a right angle triangle, and our angle is here, angle GCE. So let's call it theta. Now, since we have two sides of the triangle and we don't want to worry ourselves with the hypotenuse, which of the trig functions will help us find the angle theta? Now theta is opposite to line GE and adjacent to GC. Since we know the adjacent side and the opposite side, then the right choice is the tangent of the angle. So we can say tan of the angle, which is theta, is equal to the opposite side. What is opposite to the angle, which is 12.9832, over the adjacent side, which is 8 root 2. Then we are looking for theta, so we take tan inverse of both sides. So we have theta to be equal to tan inverse of 12.9832 over 8 root 2. This will give us 48.9309. Again, we're told to leave our answer in one decimal place. So this is 9. The next number is 3, which is less than 5. So we throw all those values away. So we are left with 48.9 degrees. That is the angle, the slant edge. Look at this. This is the slant edge. This is the slant edge. So that is the angle the slant edge makes with the base. Then the final part of the problem, the volume of the solid. Okay, so mostly I think of a pyramid as very similar to cone in the sense of their volume, since it is also 1/3 of a cylinder. We can also say this is also 1/3. Okay, so the volume of a pyramid is 1/3 of the base area times the height of the pyramid. We have already calculated for the base area in the beginning. Look at it. This is the base area. We have 256. So we have 1/3 times 256, which represents the base area. And what is the height? We have already calculated for the height of this figure. We are not going to use the approximated value. Take note, we are using the original value, which is 12.9832. So we have 12.9832. Then when you simplify this, we are going to get 1107.89. Don't forget the condition, one decimal place. So this is 8. We look at the next number, which is more than 5. We round it and add it to the current number. So our volume of this pyramid is 1107.9 centimeters cube. This is the volume of the solid. So thank you for joining me. If you found this helpful, kindly leave a comment, share this video to all your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll be back with another one. Until then, I'm out.